Welcome to Crime Capsule Daily. I'm Amanda Lamb, and this is my host, Chelsea Donovan. And we're going to be looking at cases that are making news on a more daily basis versus just some of the in depth stories that we've been looking at. Chelsea, this is a crime I think that has captivated the nation, and obviously the details are changing by the minute. So, this podcast is being recorded on Wednesday afternoon. We want to be clear about that. But this is about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. She is the daughter of longtime NBC anchor Savannah Guthrie. And basically, she didn't show up for church on Sunday. She lives alone in Tucson, Arizona. She had dinner with her daughter Saturday night, and then she vanished. So, what do we know about the facts of this case at this point?
Yeah, so like you said, she went to dinner with the other sister, Annie Guthrie, and then got dropped off at 9:45. So she allegedly was the last person that saw her. When I first heard about this as an avid Today Show watcher, the first thing I did was go on Google Maps and figure out where she lived. Right, what was this area like? And obviously, from news reports, you know that she's in the foothills of a desert, and so these lots are spaced out very far. Nothing is close together, which makes the investigation hard for two reasons. Cameras aren't picking up on the street like they would, in houses closer to each other, right? The streets have no street lights. So even if there was any cameras, which we believe were at the home but since destroyed, they wouldn't pick up much. You may not see a car driving by because the house is so far from the road.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
been described as rural, and I agree with you. It's the area is called the Catalina Foothills, and that the lots are anywhere from 1 to 4 acres, and it's very dark. Like you said, there's no street lights at all, and just so that we don't gloss over it, the camera thing. She did have cameras at her house. They
right.
were Nest cameras, but they were all smashed, which presumably by the person who is responsible for her abduction. And so now what the investigators are left with is trying to get Nest, the company that owns them, to give them that data. What else
Her,
do we know about the scene?
so her cell phone was inside, which to me seems deliberate. Someone left it there so it couldn't be tracked. Obviously, we know there was blood splatter, possibly at the doorway area. They've since sent that off from DNA. You would think that that might yield some suspect information. From what I'm hearing through media reports that are unsubstantiated, was it could have been her own DNA, right? So then that rules out a suspect. Um, Immediately with these type of cases, well, let me say this: there's so much urgency in this case because she's 84, she has mobility issues, no cognitive issues, sharp as a tack, so not a dementia related thing, but time is of the essence, and even more now as we head past 72 hours, because she does have cardiac issues and a pacemaker, and we know the longer that she goes without medication, the chances of survival, as the sheriff put it, are fatal. I mean,
Right. I mean, they decrease. And going back to that pacemaker stopped connecting with her Apple devices, which would be her watch and her phone at 2 a.m. To be clear, that doesn't mean her pacemaker stopped working. It means she was taken out of range from the devices that it was connected to. So that's kind of the moment they believe that abduction happened. And like you said, you've got blood in the home. Reporters on the ground have reported and shown photos of blood outside the front door. Also, interestingly, they say there was forced entry, but the back door was apparently left standing open. So it's hard to know how they got in and how they left without more details.
so when you hear all of this, my first thought was someone knows her movements. Someone's been watching her. Someone's been casing the home. And when I think of that, I think of two people. I think of family members. I think of a caregiver that might be helping. I think of a landscaper. I think, did someone come to the door and solicited her somehow? That's kind of ruled out because it was in the middle of the night. But someone has this so well orchestrated because they know the intricacies of the locks, the door, the landscape, that she was home, leaving her cell phone for tracking purposes. So I don't think we're dealing with a dumb criminal. I think, and we can speculate now, that it could be someone completely that we're not thinking of, a complete stranger who broke in the middle of the night. But then you go, well, if it was just a robbery, that gone bad, they would have just killed her right there, right?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, it seems very planned, right?
it seems very planned, which makes me think, and we're kind of hearing a lot of, scuttlebutt now in the fact that it could be someone close to the family. Obviously, police are keeping that information very close to the vest as to not jeopardize the investigation. What have you heard? Obviously, we know today there's been some sources.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, first of all, you have to go back to basics. There are two reasons somebody would be the victim of a violent crime. It's really simple. It's either money or it's something personal, revenge, anger. That seems unlikely when you're dealing with an 84-year-old woman. In fact, the sheriff of Pima County, Chris Nanos, has said this is a difficult person to abduct because they need help. They need medical care. It's not, it's the worst kind of victim, if you will, because you have to keep them alive, right? So
She couldn't even make it to the mailbox without
right,
assistance. That's
50
not
yards.
someone you want. Yeah, that's not someone that you want to traipse through the desert or
you want to be responsible for.
Right.
Sure. So I have to go back to the money as being a primary motive here, and you can't separate the fact that she's the daughter of a very wealthy, very well-known, high-profile anchor for NBC News, Savannah Guthrie. So you have to wonder: is this an attempt to get money from her family? And let's talk right now about these ransom notes, these alleged ransom notes. So apparently a local station, CBS station, KOTD, got this note. That note was then leaked to TMZ. TMZ reported it before, the investigators had a chance to vet it, to look at it. So now they're in that process. And apparently, according to TMZ, it talks about cryptocurrency. It talks about, what the home looked like inside, what she was wearing. But we have to be really careful with stuff like this because there's a lot of people that are scammers, right? That want to jump on something this prominent.
Right. And so it doesn't fall in line with what's typically known for ransom. There's a red flag. It surfaced days after her disappearance. That doesn't go in line. It likely, we don't know if it was sent to the family. TMZ, that kind of news outlet, that's different. The phone number from which I heard came to be from British Columbia. So that raises even additional concerns. The other thing too, I think a lot of people are speculating on is the reward, right? Up to $2,500 for her disappearance. A lot of people are saying Savannah Guthrie is worth, $100 million. Why is it that low? Well, that's an investigative tactic. You know this. They are setting it so low to weed out the trash, right? I mean,
sure.
Because if you set it at $1 million, you're going to have 1 million people calling.
People coming forward, and
exactly.
No, that's a good point. And Guthrie, that family grew up in Arizona. She grew up in Arizona, in Tucson. Her father died when she was 16. She was a young siblings. She's had her mom on the Today Show multiple times. She's talked extensively about how strong her mom was to be able to be a single mom and raise, her family. And her mom is a devout Christian. And to that end, put out this statement, Savannah Guthrie did. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, and hope. We believe in good, believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him. In your mind, what's missing? What's missing here in terms of the family? What is the family not saying?
So I always tell people, and they ask, well, like, why isn't she speaking out on the Today Show? Like, I actually thought that yesterday. I thought at 7:00, we're finally going to hear from her. We're going to turn on the TV. She has this mass medium here where she can appeal to millions of people on her own TV show. No, that didn't happen. Why do I think that didn't happen? Take Elizabeth Smart case, an abduction. Her parents were in front of the cameras all the time, pleading on every national news outlet as much airtime as they could get. She's not doing that because I think they know either that she's alive or possibly dead. Otherwise, she'd be coming on the air every day, every hour, pleading for someone to come forward who knows something, right? Using her power that she has as a well-known
Yeah,
broadcaster. She's not doing
that
that.
makes
They
sense.
know something that we don't know. And if police come out and say that, they jeopardize the investigation.
Right. And obviously, this is Pima County Sheriff's Office in Tucson, Arizona, but they're working with the FBI. The FBI was called in quickly to help them. So, if they are negotiating with a kidnapper or someone they believe did this, obviously they're trying to keep that close to the vest. Now, some of the things that we know investigators have done are doing, they have actually turned the scene back over to the family, the house back over to the family. But we know they're looking at license plate cams all around that area. They are trying to get cell phone data from any cell phones, towers close to that home. They're looking at any video that might have come from other people's homes, like Ring doorbells. And here's a really interesting thing, and this leads us into, potential suspects. They have impounded the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, Anna Guthrie. And she, of course, was the last person to see her mother, having dinner with her the night before. And this kind of leads to some really unusual territory. Ashley Banfield, who has her in a podcast, called Drop Dead, is reporting, and she said she's reporting this from a very good source, that Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law, so it would be the daughter-in-law of Nancy, might be a person of interest in this case. What do we know about this person and, how he could be connected?
This didn't surprise me when I heard that. If he's out for money, why not just ask? But he would be a person that would know that home so well. He didn't go to dinner. Was he checking things? Was he orchestrating something? Was he casing out the scene? I don't know. He didn't go to dinner. He's a sixth grade school teacher, right? So it has me completely befuddled. But as we went back to the beginning of this podcast, it's either completely random, targeted, or personal. And that's really the theory I think has the most legs right now. My question is, that's this mystery is, why take the mom if you wanted money? Were you mad about something? Did she do something to piss you off? Is the family, is Annie and him in dire straits that they need money? Like, there's just some disconnect there that I still can't figure out.
Yeah, and I kind of misspoke when I said it's usually personal or financial. I mean, sometimes it's both, right? Because
Sometimes.
families, we know, have big rifts and debates and problems over money, especially when somebody dies. So there may be a circumstance here where there's some bad blood, and we just, we don't know the answer to that. We do know, again, this is from reporters who are on the ground there in Tucson, that the FBI has been at Annie's house. They have seen the FBI there. But that would be standard operating procedure, I would think, if the family is helping with this investigation. Things, that the public can do, I guess, if they saw anything, if anybody saw anything in that area that night, is to share that. I mean, her picture's obviously everywhere. She's 5'5", 150 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. And there is a number, and I'll put this in the notes to the podcast, 1-800-CALL-FBI. And you had another number people can reach out to, or website.
88crime.org is a number that I've been seeing flashed. It's a website you can go to, give your tips anonymously. But one last thing, who targets an 84-year-old woman if it wasn't related to the family, right? If the brother-in-law is not the suspect, is not a prime person of interest. I mean, it's not like she has a big platform herself that she swings one way or the other on the political scale.
Yeah,
So
I would definitely not call her controversial in any way.
Right. And, Savannah Guthrie is really well known, especially to us, our former journalists, but I wouldn't call her someone that's widely known to most people. I mean, if you're an NBC fan and you're a fan of journalism and you know her background, sure, and you watch the Today Show, but it just seems to me like that even just her notoriety wouldn't warrant a random person to target her own mother.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I guess it comes back to we don't know what their mental state is, right?
correct.
So there's that, and then in addition to that, we also know that criminals aren't that smart. So people who commit a crime like this, to them, maybe $1 million is, get out of jail free money, which most of us know that's not going to last your whole life. I mean, so it is very curious, and I know this is going to continue to develop in the next few days. And I'm sure people are wondering, well, why this case? Why is this case getting so much attention? But it comes back to her high profile. In fact, I know that she was supposed to cover the Olympics in Italy, and now she's not
Here's
because of
why.
this.
And besides it being high profile for who she is, it's relatable. It's your
Sure.
mother, it's your grandmother. You think of your own self and you think how helpless she must be. Is she in poor health? It's just very relatable to think it could be my mother or my grandmother, taken from the middle of the night with health, ailments. And so I think that is a part of why it's tugging at people's heartstrings so much, is because she's just a normal 84-year-old grandmother.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, do you think that's why everybody's really, focusing on it?
Yeah, I think everybody has a high appetite for this right now, because it is so relatable. I mean, I think about what if that was my grandmother? I mean, I
Sure.
just think everybody can relate to it. And I think the other part that has, it's so palpable right now in the media is the time element, right? The urgency factor. Can she live this long without her medication? So that I think makes it just a news story that people just are just hungry for.
Yeah, and we know the longer a situation like this goes on without finding the person, the the less chance they'll be found alive. And so it's really it's critical if they are negotiating, with some person or persons who's abducted her to get that, taken care of as soon as possible. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know of as journalists, but as journalists for many years, we've not seen this exact case, but cases like it. So we're pretty familiar with this. So we will keep you updated when we can on Crime Capsule Daily. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.